Hey, what's up guys, Mikey here. I didn't get a lot of respect back in middle school, and I'm still pissed about that to this day. So to make up for that, I'm going to go back and finally gain that well-deserved respect. And to do that, I'm going to legally change my name from Mikey Emery to Mikey Man. Nobody will fuck with me with a name like that. Mermaid and Barnacle Boy 5 is the episode where Barnacle Boy is tired of being treated as a sidekick and joins the dark side to get some respect, so SpongeBob, Patrick, Squidward, and Sandy help Mermaid Man with the situation. Like Chocolate with Nuts, this episode aired on June 1st, 2002, and is the episode to reveal that Barnacle Boy's real name is Kyle.
Good to have you back on the side of justice, Kyle.
This is also the first episode to feature both Man Ray and the Dirty Bubble in together, which is something that strangely doesn't come up often in the series as much as one might think. With the Dirty Bubble returning in this episode, this time he's voiced by series regular Tom Kenny. In his previous appearance, episode 41, Mermaid and Barnacle Boy 2 from season 1, he was voiced by Charles Nelson Riley. After this, he voiced the Dirty Bubble in the 2005 video game Lights Camera Pants on the GameCube, PlayStation 2, and Xbox. But he didn't voice him in this episode, and I could not find a reason why. And what's even stranger is that in this episode, Man Ray was voiced by John Rhys Davis, who previously voiced Man Ray in episode 61, Mermaid and Barnacle Boy 3 from season 2. But this would also be the last time Davis voices Man Ray in the series. Starting with Lights Camera Pants and later episode 186, Mermaid Man vs. SpongeBob from season 5, the next time Man Ray has a speaking role in an episode, he is voiced by Bob Joles. Don't get me wrong, I'm sure there are reasons why they didn't return in the future. It's just a bit more weird Charles didn't return to voice the Dirty Bubble in this episode, but did for the video game. At least the part with Davis makes more sense. But hey, I never really noticed too much of a difference with the change in the voice actor behind the Dirty Bubble as a kid.
You cannot save them, sponge of mystery!
Did someone say evil?
Now Man Ray, that's another story. This episode introduced the International Justice League of Super Acquaintances, seemingly a club of superheroes that all have their own powers. This would later reappear in episode 260, the Bad Guy Club for Villains from season 7, with some notable differences. So last time, we took a look at episode 89, Mermaid and Barnacle Boy 4, and I had some controversial opinions about that one. Some elements in there didn't really work for me, and I considered it the weakest of all the Mermaid and Barnacle Boy episodes at that point. But luckily, this will be a much more positive discussion compared to last time. So let's watch this episode and see why I have better shit to say about this one. So the episode starts up and there's a mile-long line at the Krusty Krab. Mermaid and Barnacle Boy were holding up the line because Mermaid Man was taking forever to decide what to order. SpongeBob suggested ordering a Krabby Patty, and Mermaid Man agreed to do that. He also ordered a Pipsqueak Patty for Barnacle Boy, but he wanted an adult-sized Krabby Patty, which Mermaid Man claimed was too big for him. Barnacle Boy felt like he was being treated like a boy child despite how old he was. Even Patrick, Squidward, Mr. Krabs, and Sandy started to act the same way towards him. Barnacle Boy quickly got fed up with being treated that way, so he wanted to be called Barnacle Man and wouldn't protect those who don't respect him, with SpongeBob still respecting him though. Barnacle Boy decided to rebel and flat out become an evil villain, even crossing over to the dark side that Mr. Krabs didn't want to spend money to light. I wonder how that would fly with the fire department. Then Man Ray and the Dirty Bubble showed up, Barnacle Boy joined them, and they slid slightly away into the dark side. The news came on and showed Man Ray, the Dirty Bubble, and Barnacle Man committing crimes and doing high school pranks like the Ring and Run. They named their new alliance Every Villain is Lemons, or Evil for short. Ah, so that's why Mermaid Man freaks out whenever he hears the word evil. Mermaid Man rushed out of the Krusty Krab to try to stop them, but got distracted by an ice cream truck. The ice cream he got was explosive, given to him by Evil, telling him that the one of him doesn't stand a chance against the three of them. After Evil left, SpongeBob, Patrick, Squidward, and Sandy all came up and agreed to help him save the world, albeit Squidward agrees reluctantly. At the Mermalair, Mermaid Man shows the costumes belonging to the International Justice League of Super Acquaintances, and whoever wears the costumes would automatically get the superpowers. SpongeBob got the Quickster's powers, letting him run super quick. Squidward got Captain Magma's powers, letting him erupt like a volcano. I've heard of being a hothead, but this is ridiculous. Patrick got the Elastic Waistband's powers, allowing him to stretch his body. and Sandy got Miss Appear's powers, which I don't need to explain. Later on, Mermaid and the rest of the IJLSA were getting a pizza order ready when the chief called them saying that they got some whereabouts of evil, harassing teenagers up at Makeout Reef.
Makeout Reef. Good times, good times.
So the IJLSA left for Makeout Reef. Evil was harassing the teens and laughing at them. After laughing at a weirdo with a pillow, Mermaid arrived. Evil still claimed they could triumph, but the rest of the super gang showed up one by one, and Evil got more and more anxious the more that showed up. Squidward blasted out some lava, but it landed on SpongeBob's head, and he ran around and around trying to get it off. Patrick tried to save him, but his arms were stretched too far, putting him out of commission. Mermaid tried to help with a water ball, but he threw it at Squidward instead, which caused him to disintegrate. I'm no nature expert, but I'm not sure if water and magma work like that. Sandy turned invisible to try and sneak up on them, but she got hit by a car and fell off the cliff. SpongeBob ran until his whole body was gone. With Mermaid all on his own, he gave up and Evil ended up winning. Barnacle Boy came up saying that the superhero supervillain rules say that Mermaid has to give in to Barnacle Boy's demands. Since when were those rules a thing? Man Ray and the Dirty Bubble wanted world domination, but Barnacle Boy just wanted some actual respect and an adult-sized Krabby Patty, which Man Ray and the Dirty Bubble were surprised about. Mermaid and Barnacle Boy made up and became friends again. They left to the Krusty Krab and Man Ray was upset while the Dirty Bubble reminisced on a trip. The next day, at the Krusty Krab, Barnacle Boy got what he wanted, but he realized how big it was and he wasn't sure if he could finish it. I know how that feels. Mermaid and Barnacle Boy start laughing, and SpongeBob, Patrick, Squidward, and Sandy show up with all their respective injuries and laugh too, as well as one of the teenagers, Man Ray and the Dirty Bubble from jail, and the Chief, and the episode ends. So that was Mermaid and Barnacle Boy 5, and oh boy, oh man, there is so much great in this episode. Where do I even start? Well, I love the brief showcase of the powers of the IJLSA. I love how comically long the line at the Krusty Krab is at the start. I love the crowd's reactions when Mermaid makes his decision and when Barnacle Boy says, wait a minute. And I love this visual of Mermaid with the hole in the gut, just to name a few to start off with. I love the gag with the dark side of the Krusty Krab.
Why should I waste money lighting the whole store?
I love this little gem right here.
And now playing for the dark side, Barnacle Boy, Barnacle Man.
And I love how the realistic fish head opens the emergency news broadcast.
We interrupt your bleak and meaningless lives for this special news break.
Bleak and meaningless. Reminds me of today's reality. I love the sequence where SpongeBob and the others struggle to gain control of their powers. Sandy falling from the cliff, SpongeBob running like crazy, Patrick getting sucked in. It's good stuff. I also really like how Squidward and Sandy join in with helping Mermaid take on Evil instead of just SpongeBob and Patrick, as well as Squidward, Mr. Krabs, and Sandy being there at the beginning when Barnacle Boy gets frustrated, rather than just Patrick or just Squidward. It's always a treat seeing more characters at once in a situation like this, in my opinion. There's also some great character moments here. I like how SpongeBob still respects Barnacle Man when Barnacle Man says he won't protect those who don't respect him, showing how much SpongeBob really does love his heroes. I like how Patrick tries to help SpongeBob when he's on fire, as well as when Mermaid tries. Man Ray and the Dirty Bubble's reactions to Barnacle Boy's demands are funny, and of course, the ending where Mermaid and Barnacle Boy make up is so sweet. And speaking of characters, I love Squidward in this episode. He has some great lines.
Krakatoa! I can think of 3 good reasons. I don't. Makeout Reef. Good times, good times.
And I love how Squidward reveals he had a girlfriend in the past with that last line. I love that the crimes committed by Evil were mostly just high school pranks, and I love the old man's line right here.
I'll get you, crazy kids!
The Chief is fine. He's played by Martin Olson, and the Chief would reappear in episode 472, Swamp Mates from season 12. I always liked when he was live action, but as a kid, I thought that was a bit strange when he would simulate Makeout Reef and go crazy. I feel like it would have hit a bit better if he was an animated man doing that. Which means, of course, the Chief being live action would have had to be removed altogether, and he'd have to be animated as a whole. But still. And speaking of nitpicks, Patrick's injury always made less sense to me since his neck is long and twisted when his arms were affected the most. The other characters' injuries made sense, but not so much Patrick. But neither of those are a big deal in any way. There were some details I really liked in this episode too. I like all the menu choices when Mermaid looks at it. I like seeing the police officer and criminal waiting in line at the beginning. I like the design of the evil lemon, the costumes of the IJLSA, and I like how the adult-sized Krabby Patty looks different from the normal Krabby Patty. I wish we saw the adult-sized Krabby Patty more often in the future. I guess the closest we'll get is the Monster Krabby Patty from episode 138, All That Glitters from season 4.
Monster Krabby Patty?
Monster Krabby Patty? Monster Krabby Patty?
And the IJLSA lunchbox looks pretty neat too. Wish it had the Spider-Man font though. I love that Mermaid and Barnacle Boy each have their own arcs in the episode. Mermaid learns to respect Barnacle Boy and treat him as an equal and not a sidekick, and Barnacle Boy becomes able to stand up for himself and not get frustrated with Mermaid. I love that even though he joins the dark side out of spite because he didn't get any respect, he was still willing to rejoin the good guy side when the heroes lose the battle by accident, instead of permanently joining evil. All the characters are so strong in this one. I love it so much. All the characters' motives here are totally understandable rather than irrational. The actions that SpongeBob took in MM&BB 4 when he was worried about the consequences definitely got more ridiculous as the episode went on. Tricking everybody in town with the belt to not go to Mermaid to figure out how to fix the problem, that accomplished absolutely nothing. And the violence scene at the end was a poorly executed way to give SpongeBob comeuppance. Barnacle Boy was fed up with being teased and wanted respect. The action scene here is definitely more for laughs than anything, since SpongeBob and the others couldn't control their powers well. And it was ultimately to show that Barnacle Boy wouldn't join the dark side forever, he just wanted more respect. And he immediately made up with Mermaid after the conflict was resolved. Everything here is much less irrational, including the characters' motives. So yeah, I liked MM&BB 5 a lot more than 4. There's also some nice continuity here too. The New Adventures of Mermaid and Barnacle Boy intro is the same here as it was from MMB 3, and Barnacle Boy also expressed displeasure in his name in episode 12, Mermaid and Barnacle Boy from season 1.
Will you stop calling me boy?
Overall, I really love this episode. The action sequences are funny, and the story is just about perfect for what it is. I don't know if I would say it's my favorite of all the MM&B episodes 1 through 6 at the moment, but this is the superior MM&B episode of season 3, in my opinion. And we still have one left to go over, so... Mermaid and Barnacle Boy 5 is such a great episode. With all the funny gags and details, how awesome and silly the action sequences are, and how dynamic every single character is written, it's easily one of Season 3's greats. No question. And now that I know how superpowers work, I'm going to dress up as Mario and see if that gives me Mario's jumping power. One costume change later. Alright, it's me, Mario. You want to see how high and fast I can jump now? You want to see me do it again?